We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome to nufc Matters, the three amigos, the perfect way to kickstart your Euros weekend on nufc Matters. Welcome to Mitch, to George, and a special welcome back to Keith Patterson. Good to see you all, lads. Steve Hasty is not with us tonight. He is working again, but I decided to change things around so we could get a bit of Hasty early. So here's that music. The day I met, we're asked you to send in photographs of you meeting somebody from Newcastle United, past or present, and not very often we'll get 4 different contributors all sending the same photo, but I want to say a big thank you, first of all, to John for sending in this photo, meeting Steve Hasty. John Barnes, of course. Thank you, John, for getting that in. You've certainly surpassed yourself with that photo of Steve. Next one to send a photo in was Tino Aspria. He said he met Steve Hasty at an airport. Unfortunately for Steve, he was wearing the same shirt as his previous photograph, but big thanks to Tino for that. Of course, a big friend of the show. Then thanks to Shaka Hislop, who decided to get his photograph taken with, you've guessed it, Steve Hasty.
In the same shirt.
in the same shirt. Shaka opted for the opposite side of the photograph, though, just to be different, of course, to John and to Shaka. And last but by no means least, he brought the house down by kicking the side of the advertising audience. Timuri Ketsbaya didn't want to be outdone by John, Shaka, and by Tino. He wanted to get a photograph with Steve Hasty as well in that infamous, by now infamous pink shirt, which clearly hasn't got any sweat marks on it on with Steve. But yeah, big thanks to Timuri, to Shaka, to Tino, and to John Barnes for reminding us that Steve Hasty, although he may not be here in the screen, he's certainly with us in spirit. But if you've got a photograph that you want to feature on the day I met, like the lads did, then send it to us on our Facebook group, which you can join, Facebook page you can like, or follow me at Steve Wraith on X and ping them over to me and we'll get them on so we can play this wonderful music. I have as well got to give this a special mention. As you know, we do the ads halfway through the show, and the adverts are a big help because of the sponsors who contribute towards the running of the show. And I got this from Wayne Davis, and he went, "My daughter, she's 8. She just says, 'When are we watching Skips and Bins?' Your ads are working." That is brilliant. So Skips and Bins is on. It's live, and we've got plenty
like some sort of rubbish 90s dance act, like, you know, Chaka Demus and Pliers. Skips and Bins.
It's fantastic. It really is good. Let's start with the Euros. Lee got in first. We'll do you the honor of giving you the first question. He says, "I've got a question for you all, lads. Why is it 9 times out of 10 teams like Germany, Italy, Spain, and France turn up at every tournament and do well and always seem to pip us? Yet when we turn up, there's always something going wrong. So you as the Premier League big these players up, they inflate their prices, yet they can't show up when it matters, unless, of course, it's at Wembley against Newcastle." 2 games played, Keith, and we've had, a win and we've had a draw. We're top of the group. Some may say, what are we complaining about? But I understand why people are frustrated. We've got some great players, some great individual players in there. And Gareth Southgate didn't do himself any favours, unless he's doing the ultimate in reverse psychology by getting everybody to have a pop at him, which leaves the team to get on with what they want to do. But it just seems like he's continuing to put square pegs in round holes. Yet we're top of the group, and I guess all that matters at the moment is getting through to the knockout stages. But is Lee right? Are these other teams turn up, and England just seem to be letting us down or building us up for a big fall again?
You're talking about Gareth Southgate, and I think you give him far too much credibility if you think that man's capable of switching psychology and reversing it in public for the benefit of his players. The fella cannot even stipulate plan A or plan B and switch from one to the other. He hasn't even got 2 plans, and he's got what is the best instrument in football, and he can't get a tune out of it. If he's got a drum kit, he can't play a basic drum beat. If he's playing a guitar, it's out of tune. And whether you like it or not, we've seen these players week in, week out. We've seen Foden's rip people apart. We've seen Trent at right back for Liverpool and play decent football. But when you talk about the Palmers of the world and the goals that he scored this year and the goals he's made, it's an absolute injustice that your ego or your intelligence doesn't allow you to stop mid-game and say, shit, this isn't working, I've made a mistake. And it's his inability to admit mistake that's the the downfall of England. Somebody said this today, they said, I'm frightened to say anything too much. I says, why? He says, well, in case we win it. And I says, if we win it, it'll be despite Southgate, not because of Southgate. And always remember that if England were to win anything here, it's because the players are that good. But this guy, you've seen it in Newcastle, you've seen it at various clubs over the years where you've got a manager who just can't get people to play. And if you want to look too far, Bruce and Joe Linton is one that comes straight to mind. And if you see what Eddie Howe's done with players, but don't underestimate something I saw on social media in terms of what impact Graham Jones had and what he did. And he's not involved in this whole tournament, and he's out the way now, and he's not there. But he I think will play a big part in the encouragement and the processing of Newcastle's high press. But this team looked as though they couldn't press a press stud. And if you want to be harsh, look at England. You look at Kane; he's a class player, but Alan Shearer was absolutely bob on what he said. Shearer was so eloquent, even if he was getting his irate. He was for a commentator. I looked at that today and I thought, like, how does people become good commentators? And you go back to the John Watsons and the Barry Davis and people like that. But Alan Shearer gives absolute integrity. He gives 100% what he's thinking, and so you can't knock the whole Shearer approach. And he's sitting there. Mind Lineker followed him and others, and they said that was just not good enough. That was awful. And if anyone thinks, all these do-gooders who say, oh, it's all right, we're still top of the group. Honestly, you're kidding yourselves. If you think that's good enough, those first 2 games where we were made to look the worst team against 2 poor teams, then I feel for you, because that was just woeful. And with the amount of people he had You know, and I'm going to be harsh. I'm going to say to you that he's playing Foden on the left-hand side. He's not left-hand side player who's given the ball to Trippier that's going on his wrong foot. So he immediately comes off his left foot because he's on the left wing, goes onto his right foot, then he plays it back. So the whole left-hand side was nullified throughout the 2 games. We didn't have a left-hand side, but more so last night. The left-hand side was just it was just a missing link on the whole side. So England had some attack down the right and it had nothing else. And the reason the Trents and the Fodens cannot play balls into the attack, there's no movement in the attack. Then dropped short, which you can't afford to do playing for England. And when you watch Newcastle this year, if people think, for example, that Wilson's as good as Isaac, then you want to go to school Stevie Wonder because there's a massive gap between them. There's a massive gap in terms of how they close people down and press. And you press from your front player right through your back player. And Kane can't press anymore. And Shearer said that. Shearer said, when I got to that age, I couldn't do the running. And that's why you need people like Gordon on. But when you put someone like Gordon on, you've had a season of him getting the ball and running at people. And sometimes that press on the left wing makes it easier at left back. But when you've got your left back coming up the field and getting the ball and laying it back to somebody all the way, we just had nothing. We had nothing at all. But the thing that annoys me, boils me, Ryan, is that this fella just sits there and just keeps on doing it. And you know, as Einstein's, you know, definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. That's the definition, allegedly. But what I'm saying is, do you honestly think that Gareth Southgate is all of a sudden going to get the integrity to turn around and say, tell you what, lads, I screwed up, I got it wrong. You know, I totally messed up. I did try and get Trent to fill in for, can you believe what he said? Calvin Phillips? Really?
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips? Honestly, that the lad hasn't had a good game since he left Leeds. He's done nothing. If you talk anyone at Man City, his second touch is a tackle. And he cannot hold the ball, he cannot keep the ball. So Calvin Phillips is what's missing. Well, if he wanted to replace him for a direct player, then he had to play Wharton. That's the kind of players that play like Calvin Phillips. Wharton can do it with a lot of comfort, a lot of ease, and then you could just go out and do it. Put Gordon on the wing, he'll give you the space.
Not that long ago, Keith, that Wharton dominated our midfield.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. He's totally class act, Neil. The lad's a total class act. But what I'm saying here is, Rice is a class act. So if you put Wharton and Rice together, and that's how you wanted to do, if you want to do the Southgate tactic and protect the centre halves, you'd play Wharton and Rice next to each other. Then you'd put Speed on the wing, maybe Saka and Gordon down the wing. Put Easy on the wing, and he cuts inside. So he takes the width off you straight away. And I'm looking at it thinking, well, I'm not a football coach. I haven't got any badges. I've played football at a decent level, but I look at that and I just say, is only me can see this, because Graham Jones must have seen it, and Graham Jones is not. He must be missing some coaches, and I think he's missing people who's got the balls to look at him and say, Gareth, you've screwed up. Regiment is screwed up tonight. You've absolutely blown it, and your belligerence and your determination to be proven right has happened 2 games in the trot, 2 games too many. And then you've got Pickford comes on and goes, oh, we're top of the group, and honestly, I just sit and look at it and I think, God Almighty. It's the writing's on the wall to come back, get beat in the quarterfinals or the semi-finals and come back. But I tell you something, there's teams would rip us to bits playing like that last night because we had no threat, we had no press, we had too much gaps, we didn't hold the ball, didn't keep the ball, we didn't retain it, we didn't move the ball. But the main thing is there was no pace to our attack. It was just lost. And for me, I was sat just thinking, what a pile of horse shit. What a pile. And none of these do-gooders go on, we top on the group. I think, well, I've got a newspaper, I can read. But do you think we'll be top of the group if we're playing Spain and France? Because I don't. But I think the team's good enough to beat Spain and France if we had a manager.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think I can disagree, Keith. You know, and I think you're the same, Mitch and George, and we'll come to you. But Mitch, we're top of the group, but it doesn't feel we're not playing well.
No, and some people could take that as a positive because we know there's a lot more in the tank. But we're only going to get more out of the tank if the right person's driving the car.
Yeah.
And we've got a power problem in English football. Who's really in charge of the game? And who's Gareth Southgate trying to appease with some of the squad selections? He suddenly flipped from picking his faves to saying he's picking on form. Well, if he's picking on form, he's obviously not watched the game for a long time properly if he's still thinking Calvin Phillips is the answer.
Without a doubt.
And so where the hell that's come from, he's undermined himself massively with that statement. It's not that long ago, like I said, Wharton dominated our midfield.
He did, right?
Really did.
Massively.
He would not look out of place in that England team whatsoever. And the lads earned it. I see one or two little glimmers. I like the look of Guai. I think he looks like a proper class act. We're not getting the best out of Belgium because he's trying to play 10, but then Kane's dropping into those areas and he's got one eye on Trent Alexander-Arnold's inadequacies.
Yeah.
And so he's not really getting to those positions as often as he should do. He's picked a squad with a left back who's barely been fit for most of the season, went into the tournament unfit, is now training away from the rest of the squad, which tells me, when is he going to be match fit? Not during this competition. So why wasn't that adequate cover at left fullback taken? Trippier's not the answer at left fullback. Yes, he can play there. But doing that week in, week out in the Premier League is not the same as doing it in the top flight of Europe against some of the best players who will pick us apart because they know we've got a left-hand side that's constantly going to go inside to the right. Even with Gordon as a right-footed player, he likes playing on the left, and he often will go to the left and use his left, even though it's not his strongest foot. So there's inadequacies in the squad selection. He left when we needed a goal. In Gordon and Palmer, something like 49 assists and 30 Premier League goals sitting on the bench, sitting with their fingers in their arses. And then he makes the changes he makes, and they don't really have any kind of effectiveness on the game. Also, little things, details, and this is the difference between us and Germany and France. Details. How many of our players had to change their boots by midway through the first half? Who's calling that? The pitch was cutting up badly. I think Walker's bloody lucky he didn't do his ankle properly.
Yeah. Ligaments.
Really, he's lucky he hasn't absolutely shagged the ligament there. But again, who's doing this? Who in that setup is saying, hang on, lads, let's have a look at what's going on the ground?
I think, Neil, the answer's dead easy. There's a reluctance to change tactics. So yes. I think Southgate said there's a reluctance to change your studs as well. You've got to keep the studs you use.
Right. Crack on. But I mean, even if with the players we have available, I bet you could come up with it if you wanted to swap formation, do something different. It comes back also, he's got so many square pegs absolutely rammed into round holes, and that's never going to work. And we're getting away with it by saying we're top of the group. And it is only, it's tournament football and blah, blah, blah. It only really gets serious once you get through the group. And I get that to an extent. There's more than one team that in the past have squeaked through the group and then gone on to get to a final and got better as the competition went on. What worried me yesterday was, once again, we'll go goal up. We've got an absolutely fantastic opportunity to press an advantage. And we'll go into our shells, disappear back again, let them see more and more of the ball. And okay, that goal, what a strike. He can hit that shot another 30 times and he'll not put it in. But at the same time, he got that opportunity because we were not tracking right, we weren't closing down properly. We had a back four with the midfield sat almost right on top of them for a good 20 minutes of that game. And no out ball, no way to get the ball out. And it wasn't really until Watkins came on that had a bit of pace up top that you saw an out ball possible. Really frustrating and irritating. We're better than that. We should be better than that. We have an inability over the last 30 years to take a group of the best players in the world and either be ruthless enough to drop one and say, this is my system, you work in that position, but at the minute he's playing better than you, so you're on the bench today, son. And instead we had this with Lampard and Gerrard and trying to shoehorn people into positions that they weren't comfortable with. And we've got that going on again now. And who's really in charge then? The players, the manager, the FA, the Premier League managers who want to see their players picked or not picked as it suits. That's the kind of internal strife that I see with England. And it's very frustrating. Now, what I would love to see is a wake-up call and see changes made that allow players to play in positions they're more comfortable with. But I don't think Gareth Southgate's got the balls to do that.
Yeah, you've been through a few tournaments over your time, George, watching England managers come and go. Southgate's got us to a final and a semi-final, but he just seems to have lost the momentum now. And yeah, I know, like I say, we're top of the group, but I think it's, for want of a better expression, papering over the cracks, George.
Well, even the final he threw it away. It was our step for the taking. We got the early goal. We're shown that we could beat them. We went back into our shell just like we did last night, and let the other side come on. And once they come on with the character that Italy have, we were never going to win that match. We threw it away. Anyway, last night was just so depressing from a football point of view. We've talked about it on here and other bits of the platform about the pressing game. And the one thing, and I've got to give credit to Kevin, our coach, who says about the press when we get it wrong at Newcastle, it's because the press is the gap between the back ones and the front ones is too big. You could have drove a coach and horses through the gap that was between our defence and an attack last night. There just wasn't the cohesion, and there wasn't the press up front because Kane was playing back centre half rather than doing what he should have been doing. No, it's just also depressing, doubly depressing the fact you've got two of the fastest Premier League players, most goals scored, most assists, sitting on our backside, warming the subs bench, and never even got a chance to go on. That's 2 games, and that just it's just unspeakable. And some of the players they've got, we know they're good, but that John Stones that played last night, that's not the Stones that plays for Manchester City. The Stones I like is the centre half that comes forward with the midfielders and is just as likely to score as the bloody midfielders. John Stones hardly crossed the halfway line last night, and it just left that huge gap. In the Danish goal, yes, it was a good strike. I reckon that guy, when he got that ball in open field where he was, and he looked up and he saw a goal with nobody in front of him, not a single defender in front of him, he thought, yeah, I'm going to wallop this. And he did. You could see when they put the camera behind him, it was in his mind the minute it came to him, because he could see we had nobody that was going to stop that, deflect it or anything. We were just all over the place. It just beggars belief. And Neil's right. Trippier's a great player, and he fills in at left back, even for us. But he shouldn't be filling in at left back for the country, for the national team. I mean that's what sort of preparation is that? And there's the other thing is the pitch. That was disgusting. I mean, that's some of those slides. I mean, when the Danish defender tried to stop himself and he ended up stopping himself and turned it into a 2-footed tackle, he's lucky he stayed on the pitch for me, because that's what it ended up as. But it was the pitch that did it, not the player. And the net result is people start to get hurt. But some of those slips, and the fullbacks one was one of them, that could be an ankle breaker, that could be a leg breaker, never mind anything else. That sort of slip when you're putting all that pressure on that side to kick, every ounce of your weight's on that peg, and it slips away. That lucky somebody didn't break something. It really is. And you're right. That's the kind of thing they should be looking at before the game, before people start slipping about on the pitch, they should be looking at that kind of thing when they're warming up and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's a bit of a shambles, I'm afraid, and the only person that can take the blame for that is Southgate. His comments about Calvin Phillips, I could not believe. Could not believe. Remember, this is the Calvin Phillips that came back from the last tournament they played in, so unfit his club couldn't play him for a month. Now, where was Southgate and his mates then when Phillips was sitting on his arse getting fat and not and couldn't play at Manchester City when he come home? That's just I agree with Keith. Jones is a miss with that group of trainers. I do think Jones is a big miss for Southgate, and he's never replaced him. And the way our players regard Jones, I'm sure the England players were the same. Because you look when something happens on our pitch with us, it's not always the manager they run to. It's quite often Jones they run to the players, and that tells a story to me. So yeah, we're lucky to still be in, to be perfectly honest. And the irony is, if we'd pressed on after we got the goal in both those games, we would have been through already. We wouldn't even be talking about qualification. We'd been through, and we've just hide it away. Absolutely.
There's a comment on there where Johnny Allen, my pals, just turned on and said, it's guaranteed that Southgate will now win the Euros. John, you do say some things in drink, son. But John, you will not win the Euros unless he does one thing. He has to change. If he dogmatically and belligerently sticks with what he's doing and keeps playing Trent in the middle next to Foden on the left, we will not win the Euros. I'll take money off anybody. I'll bet anybody that he has to change. If he changes, and one of the big things you've just said, George, which is so relevant, Bellingham was next to Kane. He stood next to him. There's got to be a gap between them. And if they move that middle pack 15 yards up the pitch, then we could start thinking about pressing. But they showed a graph on the game yesterday where that's what happens when England was scoring. They were just middle of the pitch, just over the halfway line. And this is what happened after they scored. And England moved back 15 yards. And so we started the game at 0-0, and we thought, right, we can beat these. We're at 1-1, and then we retreat. Really? Is that how it works? Because 1-1's the same as 0-0 if Southgate has been up. So we should have attacked the same at 1-1 as we did at 0-0. Yeah. But we went 1-0 up, attack, 1-1, retreat. I tell you, if he sticks with that, Mr. Allen, we're not winning any Euros.
Well, any of the other top teams, and some of them aren't even top teams now at the moment, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, how are we going to beat any of them? We're not going to get near if we play like that last night. It'll be a big laugh for me if we play Spain in the Alioris Perez and the centre forward that used to be ours. Scores for Spain.
George, Turkey would beat us. We get beaten off Turkey. We couldn't beat them.
Yeah, I would agree. Got to agree with you all, lads. Got to agree with you all, and I think you could change it very easily. Give Cole Palmer and give Anthony Gordon a chance on the pitch, and I think you'll see goals. I think you'll see an attacking option, and make a decision between Bellingham and Foden. It's as simple as that. Don't play them both out of position. It would be easy. It would be easy. It would be easy. It does look like a throne. It would be easy just to stick Rice in the middle and just play them on the left and right. Let them have a bit of freedom, Gareth. Take the shackles off, for God's sake, before things go. Keith, that graphic you mentioned was before and after England's goal, not 1-1, which makes it worse, says Chris. Just talking about what you mentioned earlier. But England, we'll see what happens. As always, plenty to get through on a Friday night. And if you've got any topics you want us to cover in the next hour and a half, then ping them in the chat. We'll try and get through as many as we can. But first, quite a few good ones this week. Thank you, Andrew Malloy. He says, another actor's life destroyed by drugs and alcohol. That's great. That and Lookalike rather than tweet of the week. I thought it was more appropriate in there. A good one from 100% Mags, Little Arms, and the actor Thomas Turgoose from This Is England. Very good, very good. I had a few people suggest that, but you put it together in a better way, mate. So I put yours in. We had this one from Rita Maria Jackson.
That's good.
Congratulations to Rita and Geordie, who've both been who are both together now, married. Seem to go very well. So congratulations to you both from everybody at nufc matters. That was our first one this week. Our next one was Ant Middleton and Georgie Marmadashvili, which is very good. What else did we get off her? This one, Gary Davis and Nikki Papavasalou. But
Wow.
Rita does have her own competition each week with herself, and our winner this week for our own measure is this one.
Yes,
Two Steve Hasties.
A couple more years.
She loves it. She loves Steve Hasty lookalike, doesn't she? Steve will be sitting somewhere in a field laughing at that. Ian Sutcliffe, he says, I'm not, he said he's taking credit for this, but it was his lass who came up with it. Murat Yakin and Mads Mikkelsen, the actor, which is pretty good, Ian.
Yeah.
Tell your lass well done. Rita sent this one as well. Steve Hasty and his new haircut.
I thought that was his new touch, yeah.
Hey. We've got Stu Penman in the crowd as well, a lookalike. And this one was doing the rounds this week. I had to include this. I can't go to the mall because everyone thinks I'm Taylor Swift. I'm not quite sure, gents, whether you look like Taylor Swift or not, but it was a good lookalike anyway. Steve Hasty put this one in to try and stop the dog ones getting on. Eric Clapton and Murat Yakin. Very good. Cheers, Steve, for that. And here's one. Ian Hull, not quite a lookalike, but I thought it fitted lookalike. It does look like Jabba the Hutt, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt lookalike. Very good. Tom Dixon, as always, sends us a few in. Leighton Baines and Miles Kane. And Tom sent this one in as well. Jose and Flaming Lips frontman Wayne Coyne. It's not bad. It's a new one, that, Tom. I'm impressed. I like a new one. This one from David Cook. Woba from Austria and Messi. Not bad, that, you know.
Good, really good. Really good.
This one from Stephen Kennedy. Paula Vennels and Stan Laurel.
I think he'd have run the post of his bet than her, mate.
He must have been on all day, getting it paused at the right place for that. This one always doing the rounds during political activity. Boris and Benny.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And Wayne Rooney and Peter Crouch lookalikes.
Nice.
Brilliant that. Steve Hasty doing it from Stephen Kennedy. Didn't know he was a mechanic.
Who would do that with a dog?
And top three this week. No, top 4 or 5, I think I've got. Here we go. Mackenzie Crook from The Office and the Pirates of the Caribbean and DJ David Guetta. That's pretty good. I wonder why I've never seen that one before. That is a good one. Luka Modric as well, but there's 3. He likes doing it. He likes getting a hat-trick in 100% mags. Trafford and Steve Howie when he had his goatee beard. Very good. And Mr. Potato Head and that guy who used to do the interviews on American TV.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah. This one from Paul Oxley. Wow. We don't get many Hitler ones, and I'm always careful not to put them on too many times. But yeah, that is uncanny, that, by the way. And following on with historical figures, we had another one which I seem to have lost, so I'll have to go back to it. But we've got these from 100% Mags. War Bruno and actor Jacob Scipio, also known as Armando from Bad Boys for Life. Tell you what, pretty good as well, that. And this one from Smokey Drakmar, Oliver Holt and Rumpelstiltskin. And the winner is this one from 100% Mags. You put 3 in, mate, and you've come up with a belter. True Geordie and Martin Adam, the Hungarian number 9. Very good, well done, 100% Mags. You deserve that. for your efforts this week. If you've got a lookalike, join our Facebook group, like our Facebook page. Dead easy to find. Just search nufc matters and you will find them. Or follow me on X at Steve Wraith, and we will feature them next week. Thanks for everybody who stuck them in this week. Okay, lots of questions and points coming in. I want to try and vary them, especially having the lads on that we've got tonight. The man people are calling Monk Ashley, Keith. Of course, Sir Jim of Catweasel still can't get a grip on how the football business works. Perfectly suited for that shambles of a club, says Neil. I hope you're all right, Neil, as well. I've seen you've been in hospital, so get well soon, mate, whatever's happening. Yeah, Jim Ratcliffe, this is turning into an absolute carry-on film, isn't it, down there, Keith? You know, the Ashworth thing in particular, which we can focus on, because more allegations coming out about phone calls and conversations, and you know, there's, I think, was he linked to Villa this week as well in another leaked conversation or email chain? I mean, what a mess this is. And I mean, Ashworth gets all he deserves from me. He could end up literally in no man's land with all of this. But Jim Ratcliffe, I think we called this right from the start, Keith, that he's come in and really he's just a front man, isn't he? He's not somebody who's going to be able to get much business done. He's shown a bit of naivety if this is the way he's going to run Man United moving forward.
I think he's. I mean, this week I heard the interview where he was calling Fulham and Everton middle table teams. So whenever you've got that phrase, you can't have a middle without having a top and a bottom. And the mindset and the dialogue that he uses means that in his brains, you've got the top clubs, the bottom clubs, and the middle clubs. And that is anti-competitive because they're all competitors trying to become the best they can. And when he talks about things like gardening leave, you know, I saw coming from Neil today that you know, if Ineos put anybody in garden leave, they serve garden leave like any other contract provides. So the fact that he thinks that's a problem, the fact that he thinks that you can ask Newcastle £10 million to loan Lingard, and then when you come along and take our director of football, you pay less for him than what we paid Brighton. It's just naivety. But it comes back that word, he's belligerent, he's so dogmatic in thinking that he is better than everybody else, that they're better than everybody else. And he talks like how the Big Six were founded. He talks like somebody that's leading a cartel. And you might say, it's such a simple thing to do, to understand that when you've got a competition like the Premier League with 20 teams, everybody's got to have a fair crack. And that means I can't buy George's players and George's can't have a right to buy Steve Wraith's players. And if Mitch wants to buy my players, he has to pay the going rate. But here we've got a guy who's a multi-billionaire, who doesn't pay taxes, by all accounts, a tax exile, who is asking for money for those who do pay taxes. He's asking the silly buggers that live in England and pay taxes to repair his roof and build him a new stadium and sort the infrastructure out around his Wembley of the North. And he's asking people to drop the prices. And he's telling you, it's like anything. You know, tomorrow you can go out and see a Rolls Royce and you can like it. You've got a choice whether you buy it or you walk away. And what he's doing, he's looking at the Rolls Royce, whether he can afford it or not, he's kicking the tires and then he's just insulting the owner of the Rolls Royce. He just won't pay the going rate. He just wants everything on his terms. And the man's a buffoon in that sense, but obviously he's an intelligent man. He's a shrewd businessman. But it's Man United, the establishment, one of the biggest clubs in the world, letting him front up their negotiations. And what it's going to do, it's going to piss people off. It's going to get people hating them for what they stand for, because they've always been spoken of as a self-entitled club. And I think that comes through with some of the other red cartel. But if you stand up for what you believe in and you passionately believe it, you back it up, and you do pay the going rate, then people can't criticise you. But if you think you've got the right to go and get who you want, when you want, for what price you want, then it becomes cartel driven, and then you will get division. And what's happening at the moment is the division in the Premier League is getting clear. The big six is now a big 3/4. So the big three that's fighting for these privileges and these rights to do what they want are Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man United. It's the red teams. Spurs are hanging in there, but they'll be the first to jump when it all goes wrong. But Chelsea and Man City have left the table. You know, they're under pressure, and they're the ones that's getting charged. And Radcliffe, it doesn't realise that the days of the big six dominating the Premier League are over. That's gone. But Radcliffe is standing there with a Churchillian speech on the steps. Wherever he goes, he gets somebody that gives him microphone time and listens to his rubbish. And what he does, he preaches about the great Man United. He's talking 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's gone. The biggest club in your city is Man City. The biggest club in Manchester is Manchester City. By a long way. Look at the last 5 years of trophies. And then accept that you're not even the biggest in your own city, and accept that the days of a cartel run in this league are coming to an end. People's had enough. There's Newcastles and Villas and Man Cities and Chelseas and others that can have a crack at you. You've got no right to be in the Champions League anymore. But the dialogue he's using is condescending and it's arrogant, and it's just typical of somebody that thinks they have a self-entitled right to be there.
Yeah, would you agree, Mitch? I mean, it's something that you and I and Steve have spoken with, and your dad quite a bit on here. But we're constantly referring to him, and people have caught on very quickly. I love this Mank Ashley tag he's got.
Yeah, but isn't he just living up to it? Look, you're seeing the advantage that Man U have, having years of being able to curate the press that they use around them. And they get an easy ride. They get a very easy ride. That interview was, I believe, with Bloomberg. So an American press, a friendly press to American owners, a channel that actually loves the Glazers, and they'll tell you how wonderful the Glazers are because of what they did at Tampa Bay. Yeah, there's lots of people in Florida that can't stand them because of what they've done at Tampa Bay. And so it's a curious situation, but you're seeing the advantage of having people who will write positive stories about you and make you look like the good guys constantly in the world's against you. Take, for example, his comments about Everton over Branthwaite. They've literally offered Everton half what Everton value Branthwaite at. And it's like the video of the guy going in to the shop asking how much the Red Bull is, and they say £1. And he stuffs 50p on the counter and walks off with a can and says 50 fucking p. And that's how they want to behave. They want to bully everybody and make themselves look hard done by. If you look at the words he used regarding Dan Ashworth, he's acting like somebody, like many of these bullies do, when they're caught, they double down on the lie. They double down on the obfuscation and the jangling the keys and pointing out the squirrel and making you look another way and trying to make it look like we're the bad guys. Let's be clear here. Ashworth's been caught emailing people left, right and centre when he shouldn't have even been talking to anyone. Doing exactly what the Man U fans are saying, oh, well, he's working for us anyway. Well, yeah, then he's in breach of his contract and there's a problem there. Saying that he wants to offer us 2 million when there is a contract in place with clear amounts in about when he will be worth whatever once he's released from the garden leave. And if the managing director of one of the biggest petrochemical companies in the world doesn't understand gardening leave, I'll eat my bloody hat. He uses it in his own business. I know people who work for Ineos and who've been held very strict gardening leave when they resigned, so they didn't take their projects elsewhere. And so they're absolutely, and the press lap it all up like it's normal. There was even somebody, the Ten Hag line about, well, he's new to football. No, he's fucking not. He's absolutely not new to football. He understands everything about football. And by the way, a lot of the fans at the other club you own, aren't happy with him because of the way he goes on. And so I think, again, none of the press have challenged this. Luke Edwards, to be fair, today did challenge it. And why can he do that and yet some of his colleagues play dumb? Because they're giving him free rein to lie, to misdirect, and to paint an absolutely skewed picture of what the actual situation is. Dan Ashworth quite clearly is not on a normal employment contract. I believe the term for the contract he's on is a front-loaded, multi-phased contract, and it was used very specifically for people like him who are executives in very specific roles, who have a special set of skills, who are in demand and therefore are likely to move on. However, moving on comes at a cost. And that is well described within the bounds of his contract, and they can challenge it as much as they like. I've had Man United fans appearing in my timeline today on Twitter telling us, well, it'll work out worse for you in the end. Try and negotiate with us about players ever again. I don't want your cast-offs. We're bigger than that now. We're bigger than taking your cast-offs. We're not your little pasture that you send the horses to die to anymore, because we have been that in the past. Not anymore, thanks. I wouldn't want any of your overpaid, overpriced squad. It just wouldn't want it anyway. I don't think it's going to damage Newcastle United in any way, shape or form. And all we are doing is sticking to a contract that was specifically put in place because we knew this was a risk. And that was the employment of Ashworth was always a double-edged sword. He's a man in demand. Although it seems a lot of that hype has been of his own making. When I look at some of the things he's actually been involved with, I gather when he was working with the cricket ECB, he was one of the main supporters of this 100 competition, which just to me, from the outside, looking in from Dubai, it's just been a total disaster. I can't get into it. I can't understand it. Have no connection to it. The most northern team plays in Leeds. Well, that's like, this whole northern powerhouse idea. Yeah, we'll send a high-speed train to the northern powerhouse. What, and stop it at Leeds? Brilliant. Thanks for that. Let's just forget us. And so, you look at things like that and you start to think, is who's hyped him up? And a lot of it seems to be in his own hype. So I think eventually a lot of this is going to come out in the wash. But the one thing for sure is Ratcliffe's not going to change. If you look at what he's doing inside the club, there's hell on inside the club about what he's cutting and the salaries he's cutting and the benefits he's cutting for people. He's taking all their credit cards away, all this kind of thing. To me, I don't think it'll be long before the green and yellow scarves will be out again.
Yeah, George, he's making a big mess of this, I think, and he loves the camera, which is another thing, George, which Mike Ashley did. He was a recluse before he bought the club, but then he became addicted to this, media hype, and he's never off the telly at the moment, Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Well, we talked the other day about the fact that once Ashley got the taste for the telly, he used to make all sorts of bloody promises, and we've never seen any of it, which is what Ratcliffe's doing now. He's so desperate to do things his way, and the fact of the matter is that I watch the Manchester United fans on social media. They're desperate for somebody to spend hundreds of millions on players. They're not going to get it off Ratcliffe. You got Ratcliffe's millions when he bought the shares. The Glazers are still your purse holders, not Ratcliffe. So if you're dreaming a dream. And as regards gardening leave, well, I don't have any knowledge of what other people in his organisation are, but I do have intimate knowledge of some of the guys that have worked for his America Cup setup. And he writes, he doesn't call it gardening leave, but they write NDAs and all sorts of things about the algorithms they use to draw the lines of the new boats and all the rest of it. And they write it so tight that the blokes can't work anywhere else. In case the going to be done for millions by Ratcliffe. So no, he just typically bullies the right phrase. That's what he is. He thinks he can do the same with everybody else because he's got lots of money. He said, Keith says he sits there dodging, is it 43 million or 43 billion in tax in his house in Monaco to avoid all of that. Still telling us he wants a Wembley of the North. Well, it just pie in the sky stuff, but eventually get caught. The other thing about Ashworth, I always worried about Ashworth because at Brighton he was the big fish in the little pool, and he was doing what they're good at doing, bringing young players from nowhere, good coaches training them up, and then sell them on for millions. That's not what we wanted. We want somebody that's going to buy bloody good players who are ready now for us, not for somebody else. And I think that's a different scenario. And the way he's behaved, it makes you wonder how professional he is. I mean, to be in that situation and leave trails of emails and phone calls that a man with one eye could, even this one-eyed naval architect could pick up, it's just ridiculous. You really need, he really needs his head searching. So I'm delighted that he's out of our organisation, but I hope that our powers that be hang on to the notion that that's in his contract and that's what he's get. Because if he goes before a judge or an arbitrator, Keith said it the last time he was on, the first thing they say is, well, did you sign this contract or did you not? And how's he going to get out of that? He cannot. It's just ridiculous. So it's a mess of their own making. And I'm delighted that we're making them squirm so hard that Ratcliffe squeals. And yes, he's got his friendly press putting his stories out, but they're not the people that the friendly press have to nullify. Manchester United fans aren't stupid. They'll see when they've bought a pub. And once they do, Jim Ratcliffe will be gone. And the green and yellow scarves will be back.
Okay.
Well said, George.
We're going to go to a different topic now, which will probably take us just over the ad break, because it's a one which will cause a bit of debate. But Rooster's saying, any news on Man City's case with the Premier League? And Mick was asking the same question, Keith. When do you think we will hear the outcome of the Man City hearing, which I think finished today, says Mick? I mean, I don't know when it starts, when it finishes, and when the outcome will be. But what's your gut instinct, Keith, on this? When do you think we'll hear something?
It started a week on Monday and it ended today. So it was a 2-week case. It was planned on the evidence that the two legal teams presented, that it would take 2 weeks to run, and that's what it's took. When you do case management on a case like that, you've got to determine how many witness statements you're putting in, how many arguments you're putting in, and the like. And then what they do is the legal team get together with the people who run the case management, and they determine how long it's going to take to run that. And the fact that they gave 2 weeks spoke volumes that it wasn't just a daft argument Man City were putting in, because to do run an arbitration for 2 weeks at those costs is significant. But it's also significant that it wasn't just a runaway point. If the first thing I'd say is on a case like that, it's heavily sides with the EPL, because on an arbitration, when we did the takeover, we said to Newcastle United's lawyers, you'll lose at arbitration. And they understood the risk, because in arbitration there's a panel of 3, the retired judges. Basically, there's several people in the panels you can choose from, but the EPL pick one and you pick one, and then you're supposed to agree on the third. But in reality, it's seldom that people that are so far apart agree anything. So what happens is the Premier League and Man City don't agree, and then the third vote on all the arbitrations go to the FA. They'll carry the third vote. And in this case, the FA are the Premier League, because they'll always pick somebody that the Premier League are happy with. And they'll be, it's unthinkable that the FA will stand alone and not work with the Premier League to get them the third pick. So in essence, the risk is then you lose 2-1. When the takeover happened in Newcastle, Newcastle didn't know what or why it was turned down, but charging onto an arbitration. And Nick DeMarco, when we had meetings with him, said, what Keith's saying is if you slow this down and run a competition action instead of an arbitration, you've got a chance. And Nick said that he thought that the competition action could be the thing that cracked the nut. If they journeyed on and went for arbitration, and you lot were all updated on this at the time, we'd have lost. We'd lost 2-1 and the takeover wouldn't have gone through. And there was lawyers under the platforms were saying competition law won't play any role in this. It doesn't play any role in football. And the reason they say that is because they don't understand it. The people that were saying it had zero experience in competition law. Competition law is going to determine football. It's going to determine football both in Europe and in England and around the world. In everything. It's just like competition law, and Mitch will tell you, dominated the whole essence of the PGA versus LIV. It was all to do with competition law, and eventually both sides looked at it and decided they would have a draw, and they'd make an agreement and settle out of court. But in this case, Man City, you've got 115 charges facing them, and they've decided their best angle to tackle this is competition law. So that it's the competition law. And the reason it's best, just so people understand, is if you've got a case of people saying, like various clubs saying, well, we don't think you should be able to allow some of your shareholders, friends, or business associates to sponsor you. That affects competition law because it's people you're competing with determining how much money you're allowed to get in. So competition law is going to be the boss for all these competitions. I mean, what is it called? It's a football competition. So that's why competition law is big. But people were sending me, trolls were sending me, and even lawyers with no qualification were sending me things saying, it'll all be decided at arbitration. This is how your takeover will or will not go through, and it won't be competition law. And I said, if it does get decided by arbitration, forget about your takeover. And so I said to the club, you've got to raise your competition action ahead of arbitration. And if you remember, in June, before the takeover happened in October, in the June, that's when the Premier League folded, and that's when there was announcements that the arbitration was dead and it was being delayed. But that was when Newcastle got the takeover, was as far back in June. Man City are going down a similar route. The only problem is every Premier League member signs up to say that they will sort disputes out in arbitration. And so what they do is they sign up to say that they'll take in crude forms, a 2-1 chance in favour of the Premier League. And so the only way Man City can win this is if they've got a silver bullet, a absolute categoric competition point that they slam down, and it's a slam dunk, and they say to him, in effect, and don't quote us on this, even though it's public, you three judges, if you're straight, have to decide in that favour, because it's black and white, and this is anti-competitive. If them three judges sit and go, well, you know, two of us favour the Premier League, then it doesn't matter whether you have it, because you've got no right to appeal this arbitration. Neither side have. This is where Newcastle cannot lose. Newcastle can't lose this case because Newcastle are sitting there watching and writing notes down and recording the whole thing. And the minute this becomes an arbitration, it's public. It becomes evidence. It's categoric evidence. And what it says is, in December, 6 weeks after you got your takeover, the Newcastle rules were introduced. So the Newcastle rules were brought in and voted on by the majority to stop Newcastle getting the monies to compete. Well, I mean, Nana could represent you and say, well, that's anti-competitive. That means an anti-competitive is where if us four competing for time on air, George and Mitch have sipped away into the cupboard and they've said, right, next time Keith says yes, switch your cameras off. And if he does that, we'll do this. And this is what people do. It's called collusion. And collusion is a dirty word for competitors chatting aside. But just, I'll take you back to competition law. Competition law states that if you even think about, not even if you do, even if you think about stopping a competitor, it's illegal. And so Man City are on an absolute path. And Yes, they might get beat. It's very possible. But I don't think Newcastle can get beat because Newcastle are going to have categorical evidence. And just remember, Newcastle United didn't take the competition law action. When we all sat, 33,000 of us went on the screen and watched, it was taken by a company called St. James Holdings. And the rules of the Premier League prevent you from taking the Premier League on in a law court. So what we did was we sat down and looked for a body that was, you've got to demonstrate loss and then you've got to prove something anti-competitive. You don't have to win 6 points out of 7. You don't have to win 9 points out of 11. You put your arguments in, you've got to win 1 point. If you win 1 point, you've acted anti-competitively, you win a competition case. And when you do that in the Premier League, the way the rules are written, you've got to do it in a body that isn't the football club. So it can't be Brentford FC and it can't be Crystal Palace FC. It has to be a company that can demonstrate loss. In Newcastle had a company called St. James Holdings, who we were involved with, and basically what they do is prove that they were financially impacted by the sale and the takeover of Newcastle not going ahead. Now, since then, I spoke to somebody a few weeks ago. They said the Premier League have gone to wit's end to try and stop such a claim or such a repeat of that action because they absolutely miffed and absolutely chewed off that Newcastle did that. But Newcastle smashed them to pieces. Newcastle got the takeover in the June, and it was announced on October the 7th. People say, oh, it was all to do with piracy. The piracy was spoken about the day before the takeover. Sorry, on the 6th of October. The deal was signed by the Premier League on the Saturday before, 2nd of October. So what I'm saying had nothing at all to do with piracy. This has got nothing at all to do with Chelsea's and this. But if they all come forward, and if some of their directors come forward and say, well, I got this from other clubs saying we shouldn't do this, we should do that, then that's all evidence. Newcastle, as a basic gimme, have been given fact that there's the Newcastle rules have been voted on. And we're told that some have been voted 18-2, 2 abstainers in a vote of 20. And if Newcastle have got that, they've got categorical proof that competitors have been voting to stop them financially. I don't see. The problem Newcastle's got now is what we had in the takeover is they've got to find a body that's been financially affected. I'm pleased I'm not involved, but that could be Seller. Seller could have an investment in Newcastle that they've paid 35 million for. Now, if Newcastle become Champions League and if Newcastle become winners of this, winners of that, that investment could be worth 70 million. But if Newcastle aren't allowed to buy and the Seller image doesn't get promoted, then maybe Seller or a company of that ilk, maybe Saudi Air, the airline company, can prove that they're launching a company and they could have got £1 billion advertising budget and it's impacted whether Newcastle compete in Europe or not. And they can't buy and they can't spend.
Lots of positive comments coming in. I'm going to hold that thought because I want Mitch and George's view on this, but I did promise I would bring a young lady in who has done some amazing artwork in the recent weeks and months. We did try to get her on a while back, but just due to me being busy, her being busy, we haven't been able to get her on. But I want to welcome Abby Graham from 4th Avenue Tattoo Shop. Can you hear us, Abby?
I can, yes. Hi, everyone.
Great stuff.
Hello,
Abby. Thanks.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on to the Three Amigos on nufc Matters. And for those of you who don't know what artwork I'm talking about, it is this. First of all, this wonderful lion on somebody's leg. Then we've got this, an eye. I wonder if anyone's guessed what these particular tattoos are and who has these tattoos. This one will give it away, of course. You'll have all seen that one. Never give up on your dreams. And of course, those 3 tattoos are adorned by 3 Newcastle players. Dan Burn, of course, seen there with Abby. I don't think Abby would have much chance in a headed duel with Dan. Then we've got Lewis, of course. Great photo. That was the one that caused all of the publicity, I guess, for the shop because Lewis has had a wonderful, wonderful season with Newcastle United. And then his younger brother, as well has been in for a tattoo. So, Abby, I really wanted to get you on just to help promote your business and say congratulations and well done. And I love the artwork. Being a person who has tattoos myself, you know, I appreciate good tattoos, and your tattoos are simply the best. So, how did it come about with the lads coming down to the studio?
Well, thanks for obviously having us on and all that. Take it as a compliment. Obviously, we had positive and negative feedback on Lewis Smiley's tattoo. It's not everyone's like thing, but it is what it is. How it all started was Dan Byrne. I got in touch with him just through like nursery. With kids used to go to the same nursery, they don't now, and it just started from there for Dan. He contacted us, wanted to book in tattoo for his son, got it booked in, sorted. And then I was on holiday just in April there, and I got an inbox on Instagram of Lewis Smiley, and I thought Dan had like passed him to us, which I thought, oh, that's mint. So I thanked Dan, and he was like, I didn't actually. So when I was speaking to Lewis, he said, oh, I just found you on Instagram, and I knew Dan came here, and Jamal Lascelles has been there. I just thought, I want to go there, and I looked at your work and I love it. And then he sent us a piece of what he actually wanted, and I said, we'll have to change it a bit and make it a little bit more you. He couldn't have like Adidas logo in, he couldn't have actual Newcastle in. There's certain things he couldn't actually have in. That picture there is actually him. So I did get loads of positive feedback, like absolutely loads, to the point where I'm actually booked till March next year now. That's
Wow.
Brilliant.
Wow.
And then obviously,
Well
you know,
done.
the general public, being the general public, there was a lot of negative, which was my first ever time of getting negative feedback in probably the whole time of being a tattoo artist. And he said before he left, it'll be expected. So I took it on the chin, and I just thought, you know what it is? He contacted me. He wanted me to do his first tattoo on his 18th birthday, and I didn't even work. I don't work Wednesdays, but I made it happen. And I just thought, why not? Everyone was like saying, oh, I bet you got paid a fortune. I bet you got this. Actually, before I even got him in and told him a price, I said that it's a birthday present from myself to him for choosing
Well
me.
done.
It's an honour.
Smart.
So
Brilliant.
just for everyone that didn't know that, I didn't actually get a penny, and I didn't want a penny because I'm not doing it for the money. It was for the reputation, and it was for the studio, for my staff as well.
Well
So yeah. Then his brother contacted, and he's like, right, I want in. Everyone loves Lewis's tattoo. It's all that matters. He loves it. Lewis is actually coming back in, but Jamie, what another lovely lad. All three of them are so genuine. Not what I expected. I don't know what I expect, to be honest. Done his tattoo, and he's so happy. I still speak to them and keep in touch with them now. They both gifted us a t-shirt signed. I thought, what more could a girl want, especially when my family are massive NUSC fans. So
it's brilliant. What was the inspiration? I mean, I don't want to get too personal, and I know you may not want to divulge. What's the inspiration behind the eye? I mean, that's quite a distinctive tattoo,
So-
and I know from getting my tattoos. I remember the very first tattooist I went to was a guy in Dunstan. He's no longer with us, and he always said, I hate tattooing. He says, Newcastle badges, I hate doing it because everybody wants one. He says, but the one I went for something particular, which was a one-off, and he designed it. And tattooers seem to like to do things which are obscure and they don't do every day. Is that the same for you? And what was the inspiration behind the eye?
It is. So Jamie wanted gap filler, and it started off first as he wanted script writing, and then in the long run, he's like, actually, I want to change it. I'd like my partner's eye put into the sleeve, but I want it all black and grey. Obviously, we don't have a black and grey picture. We've just got the actual one. So yeah, we made it as a gap filler and then just filled in the rest, you know, to match in the rest of his sleeve. So his sleeve again is a little bit about him. So for being young lads, they've actually thought about the tattoos, whereas I'm covered head to toe in tattoos, and I mean, I've got a bus on my leg for some reason, and I don't know why. But,
is it on time?
Like, what's that for? And I was like, I think I must have liked them when I was younger. Just random stuff that I could actually afford back in the day. Like I became a tattooist because I couldn't afford to get tattoos. And that's how my journey started. So they've thought about them. Lewis wanted that tattoo because that's how his life started, and he sent it's his design. I tattoo what I'm giving. I think when tattooing's people that are so big, I get a little bit nervous. Like on this call now, I'm a little bit nervous. I've never did anything like this. So you just do, like, usually would give a bit of advice and say, I think you should do this, I think you should do that. But for them, even though they're younger than me, I just thought, if that's what you want, you can have it. Do you know what I mean? It's their tattoo. It's on their body at the end of the day. That's not my choice to start sitting changing it. And I didn't want to, like, not be rude or, like, annoy them, but I just thought it's theirs and that's what they've wanted. They've thought about it for ages, so I'm just going to go ahead and do what I've been asked to do. I made it fair. I didn't charge Jamie for his tattoo either, so it wasn't about any money or overcharging people who are famous. It's nothing like that for me. Tattoos now are all custom designs. You hardly go to the studio now where you can be like, oh, can I have that off the wall? It's not really like that anymore. It is all custom designed on iPads. There's a bloke in my shop called Dave Harris, and I swear to God, if he does any more tomb badges, he's going to turn into one. It is mental, actually crazy. It's
Does
blown
he?
away. Like, he does full Newcastle sleeves. Like, it's just gone crazy. Not just for me, but for the staff in there and for the whole of the North Shields. To be fair, everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, who's in 4th Avenue? I wonder who's coming next." But we can't really say who's coming next. But we do have someone, but we can't post until they've left. So we'll have to wait for that one, lads.
Can I say something? Can I say something, Abby? You said earlier that you've had negative, and I think everybody that achieves greatness or achieves something good in life always gets criticism, and if you don't, then you're not at the top of what you do. So that's
definitely.
that comes with it, and it's lovely to see. I always imagine a tattooist being a big, burly, ugly bloke, and it's lovely to see a bonny bear like you that goes around doing it. And I'm pleased you built a March, but I was just going to say to you, is there any chance that come April, if you could do me a curly perm? I'm not laughing at. I'm like looking at. I'm just thinking, you could make me look all handsome on that if you're that.
No chance of that.
All right. Well, look, good luck, and it's great. The other thing is to remember is whenever you do a tattoo, you see you've had some negatives. The only thing that matters is the customer, and Lewis Smiley loves his tattoo. So what you've done's gone down. But always remember that. Just if someone ever says that, you keep up your sleeve and say, "Look, the customer loved it." So
Do you know what it is? You're so right. It did get us at first. I was thinking, oh my God, I've got a little girl. It's just me and her. She's 2 years old. And I just grabbed her that night and I just went into my bedroom like a teenager. We ordered Domino's and I thought, I'm turning my phone off. I've never witnessed it. And then when I turned my phone on, I had a message off Jamie saying, off Lewis saying, I hope this is not getting to you because it was totally expected. And I just said, well, I said, this is all your fault for nearly being for going to be the next David Beckham, isn't it? And he just started laughing. And thought, you know what it is? Today's a new day. I'm done. Let's go. Let's go and smash 4th Avenue. We're in North Shields. You can't miss us. Let's go. Take it to the top. So this year, it's all about us.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant, Ian. I tell you something, you're a creditor, and just keep doing what you're doing. Because when you build up that far ahead, I've seen things come on the screen where they're saying put your prices up and that, but just be true to yourself, keep doing what you're doing, and always remember the criticism is the compliments of the losers. The losers criticise as a way of complimenting.
Yeah, it's why I wanted to get you on, Abby, because you've done a great job. I respect your work, but on top of that, I did see you getting a bit of negativity, and I thought, look, the best way to counteract that is get you on. Just make sure you know that you've done a great job. I'm sure you do, and the fact that maybe you're going to get somebody else in is great. The fact that you're booked up until March is fantastic, but I do want you to push your socials. Where do you want people to at least come and search and find you? Give a shout out where people can find you.
Well, we're 4th Avenue Instagrams, 4th_Avenue_. It's straightforward. And on Facebook, again, it's exactly the same. You can't miss us. We've got a black and white logo. Our studio is black and white. And we've both got like around about the same 1,000 followers. We've got 15,000 on both pages. So we are smashing it. And like I say, it's not just about the money. Like, I compete with other artists for money, but most of my customers now are regulars. They get discounts and they come back and they love the banter, the crack, the atmosphere. So this was a bonus. So thank you.
No, well done, Abby. Best of luck to you and everybody who works down at the studio. Keep up the good work. And I'll be keeping an eye on things. But have a good weekend. Take care, Abby.
Bob, thank you.
Great to meet you. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Great to have her on. Best of luck to her.
What a lovely lass. What a lovely
guy. Done a great job, and great to see the lads giving us some support as well after they had the tattoos. Okay, a little bit later than usual, but here's the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners in 2024. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts. You can find them at www.media-arts.co.uk. And don't forget, we are a podcast. You can find us on iTunes or Spotify or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel grow, then hit the like button, the little thumb underneath the video, click share and share to your social media, or join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to take out a one-off payment membership, go to nufcmatters.com and hit membership. And for a £25 fee, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. You can also put a smartphone over the top of this QR code. It'll take you straight there. And don't forget, we also help the food bank on this channel. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is a website where you can make a virtual donation today. And don't forget, Gibbo and Supermac are together at the Leisure Centre. Free entry. You just need to go to Gateshead Leisure's website to see to book your ticket to see them do a pre-match talk in before the final group game in the Euros next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And the end of season do 20th of July. Supermac, Gibbo, George and the Longsands on stage in Age of Dementia Matters. Tickets at tenner from nufcmatters.com and newcastlelegends.com. Well worth going along to meet the guys and raise some money for Dementia Matters. So Mitch, following on from the comments that Keith made about the Man City case, I mean, I guess we just have to sit and wait now, Mitch.
Yeah, we do, but more and more as things come out and things go on, I'm increasingly impressed by the behaviour of our club. I get the distinct impression there's lots of powder being kept dry, and we're just playing the game because we know we put our heads above the parapet. They'll be there going, "Say, I told you so." They're coming in and they're going to do this, and it's them, and it's all them, and they're the bad people. And we're putting up with a lot. I'm amazed at how somebody somewhere within our club hasn't snapped at some stage. To have a set of rules that are generally openly called the Newcastle Amendments by everybody screams anti-competitive behaviour from the walls. And I think the Premier League know that. And I think the clubs that voted it in now know that. And I think everybody's scrambling. Like Keith, I'm not convinced that Man City will win. Not because it's right or proper, but because they're not necessarily always going to get a fair crack at it when it comes to some of these decisions. But what it has done, it's chucked a hand grenade into the middle of all of it that we've not had to do. We can just sit and nod and just bide our time and take it all in. And it must be difficult. And I know it's difficult for us as a fan base. I think we've had to learn regional geopolitics, international geopolitics, where the next attack's going to come from, whether it's the Athletic going after Noon, who, because it's a UAE company, indirectly go after Man City with it, yet will not talk about the construction company that sponsors Arsenal's training ground. If you want to talk about workout conditions in the UAE, construction's where you want to look for the worst conditions. I promise you that. There's no articles there. And we feel like we're waiting for the next attack coming from somewhere or the next restriction coming from somewhere. We're constantly being painted as the bad guys. Jim Ratcliffe's trying to do it at the minute. And so it would be easy forward to go. And the other thing I'd say, on the back of it, it's something that me and Stu have tried to get across over the last few months. When they want to sit down and talk about the value of a sponsorship, they don't know how to value it here in the Middle East. Something that might be worth 5 million in Europe might be worth tens of millions here in the Middle East in terms of what a business can recoup and gain by being associated with a Premier League club. There's certainly no way that the Premier League are very good at assessing what's going on across different markets. Good God, they're not even able to assess whether 2 shirt front sponsorships for next season are actual real companies or not. And they've got another shirt front sponsor for next season who are sponsoring Chelsea, owned by a blue core company, who are sponsoring the team at 20 times their annual turnover. Explain how that magic maths happens. And so there's lots of things that they're approving while they're scrambling that are actually undermining their case. They're undermining the argument that they want to give. Because, again, one of the measures that's been looked at here, since Noon became our shirt sponsorship, they've reduced their deficit to Amazon, who's their main competitor in this region, by a quarter. I'm sure that's worth more than £7.5 million. So how can you sit in London and say, well, that's the value of that sponsorship to that company? Noon, I think, have made a lot more value out of that. And so it's a complex matter. It always was, and it will continue to be. As long as the Premier League remains the premium global product that it is, this is going to get more difficult for them. And I think it's about time. I'm glad somebody's gone back at them, but there's part of us really is quite glad it's not us, because we're a very easy target still for the, particularly the Red Cartel, to turn around and say, "We told you so." Well, they don't have that opportunity. They're taking on an ownership that have played ball with them to a certain point, and they've now snapped. And so for me, I'm quite happy it's not us, but I do think we have the potential to gain quite a lot on the back of it, and we can honestly raise our hands and say, well, we didn't do that.
George, you've listened intently there to two of the wise men. You're going to complete the trilogy here, but it's crazy, isn't it? This whole situation with Man City.
Well, what intrigues me, and listening to Keith, it strikes home, is how naive some of these people are. They think they're just playing ducks and drakes with bits of paper to try and stop Newcastle United. They're taking it so far, the collusion bit of it, they're putting themselves into criminal matters. It doesn't become a civil matter anymore. Once collusion's proved, they could find themselves handling criminal things. Nothing better than to see a couple of the Premier League people having to go to court to defend themselves. It would be wonderful. I'm still of the view, and I agree with Neil, glad we didn't do it, but what we've been able to watch is the fans of Everton, the fans of Nottingham Forest, the fans of Leicester, all saying, "Hold on, those Newcastle lads had a point." It's come striking home to them, and they're realising that it wasn't just bitterness and nastiness that was making us shout. It was real. Now they know it's very real because it's hit them, and that'll only get worse. It will not get better; it'll get worse, and the numbers will grow. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And the net result is that there will be such a catastrophe that the Premier League's going to be running in water. They're not be able to go forward at all. So the premium product is in danger, in my view, the longer this goes on, because sooner or later somebody will take it the whole way. If it's Manchester City, fine, okay. But the other thing is, I'm glad it's not us. But the people that solved the golf issue, which was so untractable, it'll never be solved. Golf will never be the same again. It took Amanda and her husband 2 weeks to put it right. Do you not think they're sitting back waiting for the opportunity to do the same? I think they're only keeping quiet because it's us. I still have the opinion that when the wheels come off, they will be as involved as anybody in putting the wheels back on to make it all fair again. And I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted. It's just, as I say, the naivety of some of this stuff that people are supposed to be so clever and so well educated about, it just beggars belief sometimes. Talk about arbitration as though it was easy come, easy go. Nothing easy come. Even in my world, marine arbitration is littered with all sorts of catastrophes. But at the end of the day, if people step too far out of the arena, they end up in a criminal sanction. Not just a civil sanction; it becomes a criminal sanction. Collusion is a big one, and it's writ large in every newspaper in this country since we got our takeover about what they're doing. And the very fact that people blithely call these rules the Newcastle rules is just absolutely balmy. So
Dougie Morris sent us a message. I think he's watching the show and he's a regular follower, and he sent a message saying, "Can you update us on it?" And I assume he's on about when we're going to hear about this case, because Steve said earlier he wasn't aware of how long when it finished. When you get a case, whether it's when you get 3 retired judges or anything, and they hear a case, they manage the case so it fits in the 2 weeks, which they've done. They'll have ended the day, and then people are saying, "Well, do we not find out the day?" As with all court cases, George will tell you, is they need to do summary. They'll have listened to the points. They'll have clarified the points, and then what they've got to do now is they've got to consider them. And with all judges, you've seen where people appeal. It's a common thing, and this process doesn't have an appeal process. But what it does have, if the answers given to Manchester City's lawyers, and bear in mind these are the same lawyers that have been commissioned to fight the 115 charges. So not many people, I think, are switched onto that the very same people that are going to fight the 115 charges in November of this year are the same team of people that's fought this arbitration. For Man City to pull them off the 115 charges, which could be catastrophic, could see them relegated, could see them put in League Two, it's critical for everything that Man City stands for that they defeat those charges. But if they get a ruling of any kind that states that any part of this related party transactions is anti-competitive, it then, just think about that. So Steve comes in as Man City, and old Richard Masters says, "Right, you've got 115 charges here," and Steve says to him, "Hold on a minute. Haven't you just been acting anti-competitively against my company? And haven't you just been doing things which are illegal? And haven't you been colluding against Manchester City? Are you sure you didn't make it impossible for me to trade any other way than to try and survive your illegal manners?" So for Man City to win this, or to get a score on this, or even get a judgment that states that the Premier League will change the related parties, is massive. But the judges voting on it will be very careful, very studious, and they'll take the time. They'll take real time in how they announce that judgment, because all judgments can be commented on or challenged in another court, even if this process is allowed. Yeah. So I would imagine that you're not going to get an answer tonight, this weekend, next week, or the week after. I would say that you're more likely to get an announcement probably in July. Don't be surprised if it takes till August. It depends how contentious the issues were. It depends how much. It depends how many silver bullets Man City went in to have that and that and that. And if they go in with stuff like that it's impossible to turn over, then these people have got to decide how they do it. And I think the framework of the arbitration just allows them to decide whether they keep the associated party rules. I think Man City challenged them to scrap the rules, and if they succeed in that, there'll be another case because Man City are then pressing for charges. They want damages out of it, so they want the rules scrapping, and they want to put a lobby in for costs. So what Man City are doing is saying, you with me for 115 charges, I'm going for anti-competition, and then I'm coming for losses. And you can see what's coming here. You've got Everton sitting miffed. You've got Leicester sitting miffed. If Leeds got up, they were going to come. You've got clubs right up to the neck with it. They're saying Villa are. They're saying Newcastle are. So what's happening? But they're saying Chelsea is. And when you put all these clubs together, have you noticed that the 18-2 majorities are yesteryear? You're not going to get 18-2 majorities. When you put competition action in, Aston Villa have come forward and said that's anti-competitive, and that's why. And all these things going to come out. So that the Premier League, as we once knew it, bossed by 6 teams, of which literally 5 out of them 6 got all your European cream and got your cups most years, is changing. And what's happening is you've got people coming into the game. You know, anybody that's a billionaire is going to know what's allowed and isn't allowed in markets. And the football market is hugely corrupt. It's very anti-competitive. And just on 3 scores, whether people collude and chat to themselves. Now, ask yourself, did the 6 clubs who decided to run the European Super League wake up one morning and say, where are you going today, Steve? Oh, I'm going down Benton. Oh, we're going in that place for a coffee. And when they go down, we're all going to vote our solicitors at the same time. We're going to set up a European Super League. How are we going to do it? Well, she's thought about it, and we all thought about it at the same time. They must have met and double met and treble met, and all that. Even when you're planning to meet somebody, is traceable or the disclosure. So when you do disclosure in these cases, if they run a competition action, you'll know last time they farted, which direction the fart flew in. You'll get every WhatsApp, every text, every email, every letter, every scribbled handwritten note, whole lot comes through as disclosure. And as soon as you find one occasion where people have plotted, you're knackered. It's over. The whole game's over. And that's why when we ran our case against the Premier League, we ran 6 arguments. They tried to answer 2 of them, and they answered them extremely badly. 4 of them they couldn't answer. Newcastle United got our arguments, and they put all of them together, and they tweaked one of them, all of our arguments. And they knew there and then, their competition lawyer said, they cannot answer these points. So we would always win a competition action. That evidence stands for 7 years. So that evidence is only 2.5 years old. So there's still anti-competitive behaviour and evidence sitting in lawyers' offices now that you could do if you were taking action. The problem is you've got to find a body that's not a football club to take an action. And don't forget, that body could be football fans. So if a group of fans or a group of people could show a loss because the club's being treated anti-competitively, they could, in essence, build a case and take them on. It's irrelevant who takes a case on as long as it's proven to be anti-competitive. Once it is, it's almost game over because you've got to rewrite and rechange how you do things. Right now, I think you're looking at a few weeks before you get an answer. Hey, if we get an answer on Monday, brilliant. But if you get an answer quickly, it usually means that the City case was worthless or it crushed, they drove a horse and carts through the rules and the rules are going to be changed. But I don't think you're going to, I would personally think they'll get an answer really quickly because then judges have got to protect themselves on what they judge against.
Fascinating stuff. Great to have Keith on this week as well with this story breaking, if you like, and we will wait and see what the result is. We've got about 25 minutes left, and as always, we'd like to share some tweets of the week. The election plays a big part this week. Lots of tweets coming in. We asked 100 people, what is a sign of poverty? You said not having Sky TV. Yeah, I've been inundated with political ones. I've got to be perfectly honest this week. The wife just asked me if I love football or her the most. I said, open your legs and I'll show you. So I nutmegged her. This one was a good one as well. The Rolling Stones. That's for all
dear.
the millennials out there who remember
Right.
Graham Hill, of course. And convince people you've been to Turkey by simply putting a train ticket in your mouth, lads. It's a cheaper way, apparently.
Yeah.
And we've got a hasty lookalike from Dancing Nathan there, which has found its way into the tweets of the week just to keep Keith happy. And for anyone who missed the lookalikes, I thought I would stick it in there. See, people do enjoy the laugh still. And Sunday League, lads, remember this? Back in the good old days, a lighter and cigarettes down the back of your sock. Thanks to Steve Hasty for this one. Spock Cotton. Very good.
Oh.
And the Star Wars one as well from Jimmy. Tweet of the week, Star Wars fans will know. A lot of time and effort's gone into doing that egg, Jimmy. Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. The Death Star egg. Another sign one. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I thought it was going to be frankly Mr. Shankly, but yeah, that's just as good. And this one from Ian. Whoa, Blackberry, Panda Lamp. Giving us a singing one. And this one for Doctor Who fans, the story that's running on Doctor Who. I bring Sutek's gift of death. Why Sutek is never invited to the Doctor Who team's secret Santa. Of course, those of you who are watching the current Doctor Who will realize that the villain in the current Doctor Who is also a villain that was in a Tom Baker episode. Last night's game prompted some of these. Southgate being unveiled as Steve Bruce. And bad news, everybody. E.T. didn't make it home.
Poor lady.
Is it lady? Let's be honest. It's not the first time the Tenors had Charlie on it, but there's the new notes. And this is the worst advert for a business I've ever seen, lads. If only there was a company that could fix that glass. PGW Auto Glass is the company. Brilliant that. The queue outside Sunderland for the manager's job reached new heights this week. Apparently, they've got Labrie. I think he's been announced. Fabrizio Romano announcing they finally ended their hunt for a manager. So got that one in the nick. Got that in the nick of time. And when a cougar gets so old, she needs a hearing aid. She becomes a deaf leopard, lads. Very good, very good. And being in a relationship is about solving problems together. Problems you wouldn't have if you were single. Last night I saw this fella sneaking around my garden wearing a rugby shirt, golfing trousers, tennis shoes, and a pair of goalkeeper gloves. Hey, I shouted, what's your game? And there won't be Sky TV in Winchester this Christmas time. I told you there was a few of them. I love this, by the way, this mirror. It was a tight fit, but I think it's well hung now, lads.
Do you know when people design these things? Do you not think, I want to go to them and say, did you not show that to a 13-year-old boy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly. Town Moors here as well, lads. And first picture's coming in. I'm not sure how fast this roller coaster's going. And I'm looking forward to summer, lads. It's my favourite day of the year. I did think that was quite apt, but we have had a bit of sun in the northeast today, which is great. How do I set the washing machine? Says one texter. What are you washing? A t-shirt. What does it say on the t-shirt? Depeche Mode. And I need the toilet quick. Oh my. Yep. Another great name.
Shittle Poppet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll get the picture. Anyway, my mate met REM this week. That's him in the corner. And this one from Yorkie. He's fostered a dog this week. Congratulations, Yorkie.
Who does that to the dog?
Steve Hasty. That's how he's not on the show. He can't get out. I love this one as well. Thanks, Steve. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home. I bet you love that. I bet you probably didn't understand it coming from Cape Town.
I'm South African.
Yeah. Do you know the man who sang the Hokey Cokey? It's a bit random. No, why? Well, apparently they couldn't close his coffin for his funeral because every time they put his left leg in, he put his right leg out.
Oh dear.
Another good one. And the founder of Dulux Paints was found dead on a mountaintop. A police spokesman said he could have done with another coat. Thanks, Keith.
Oh,
And a new pop band's out. It's called Tuck That. And another pop one. When you're driving and all of a sudden you're hungry like a wolf.
Duran.
And sorry about that soda pop kid. He says, police are still looking for the smart arse who painted a tunnel under this bridge. That's brilliant. You can see that. That's a Roadrunner.
yeah.
Excellent. And this one, good reply. Cumberbatch constipated. Actor Benedict Cumberbatch has revealed that as a child he suffered from constipation. The reply, no shit, Sherlock. Last couple. If you love music but don't know who this is, you're a disgrace. The Gryffindors.
No. Oh.
And you can sing it on Tweet of the Week on Friday, Ugly Camel says. Radio bread. I'm a crep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I imagining here? I don't belong here. That's an awful song, that, by the way. I'm usually such a good singer, Ugly Camel. And this one, another pop one. Aha! Catching his wife in bed, of course, with the lead singer of Aha, allegedly. And a Star Trek one, I haven't had one of these for a while. Bugs Bunny won't accept files through Google Drive. He'll only accept a WhatsApp dark.
Oh.
I did like this picture as well. I've had this for about 7 months and I lost it. This is Jim Carrey at Christmas. Look at this photograph, lads. The young Jim Carrey opening his presents in the 60s. He was destined for success, wasn't he? And Jim Carrey posted that. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm glad I found that. Winner this week. It's the best name for a kebab van ever. Jason Donovan.
Brilliant.
Quality.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you for your tweets, everybody. Join our Facebook group, NUFC Matters. Like the Facebook page, NUFC Matters. Or follow me on X at Steve Wraith and send them over and we'll feature them next week. I did like Dave's comment before when Abby was on. He said Picasso would get negative comments in 2024. You're not wrong, mate. Yes. You are not wrong. No. Where we're going to go next, we've got a couple of other things. Yeah, the Bruno thing is of interest. Bruno and Tonali. Let's finish with the two players. And somebody mentioned Tyne. He's Golden Boy Tyne. He's injured again. You're right, CC. Yes, he did get injured. It's unfortunate that, but I don't think he was ever coming to Newcastle. I think that was just paper talk. John Askew came in earlier on. He said, hypothetically, if the choice was the loss of 4 points or selling Bruno for the PSR situation, which would you go for? I think I would go for the former myself. I mean, I wouldn't want to sell Bruno at all. I've got to be perfectly honest. And I don't think it's going to come to that because we're coming to the end of that kind of period as well. His period is up, isn't it? The period for a team to come in, Keith, is over. And we don't need to do that. We don't need to sell Bruno.
I don't think they say PSG is not in now. Arsenal think it appears Arsenal think everybody's cheaper than the price. So I think when you see rumours from Arsenal, they talked about 67 million for Isaac and 60 million for Bruno. It is paper talk, but I think Newcastle, if they were to sell Bruno or Isaac or Gordon, if one of them was sold, I think we go backwards. And some people say that if you sell one of them, the money that would bring in PSR figures would allow you to expand and get the rest. But buying players for a lot of money doesn't guarantee anything. As Chelsea will tell you. So when you look at what Casino has done, and in fact, when I look back at 100 million plus players, the only one that I think's been real value for his club is Rice at Arsenal. I think they broke the bank for him, and I think as a club player, I think the lad's done it. I think he's had a great season, but I don't think Grealish or Fernandes or Caicedo and those kind of people came close to the 100 million valuation. And you've got to remember that Bruno's there and he's had to be well over 100 million. So, and to me, I wouldn't sell God for 100 million, not his age and potential and skill factor and attitude and the way he fits in the club. So for me, I think the whole bullshit about who's coming and going is over. I think that the rumour is that Newcastle can do deals with clubs on players to carefully manoeuvre around through June to get round the PSR, and then you go into a new trading year. So I don't see any of them going. I see us buying one significant player, probably somebody who plays on the right side up front. I see us buying a player, a striker come right-sided player. I see us buying a centre-half. I think, we'll spend money on a centre-half, but I don't think it'll be by losing one of them. And if I think Bruno fits Newcastle so well because I'm not too sure if he went to Man City, he'd get the game time or get the adulation or get the kind of freedom he's got to express himself here. And I think that's why I'm looking forward to seeing Tyne come next year because he's like a new player and he'll have learned a lot. He'll learn a lot about himself and he learned a lot about the players in the squad who he's been training with. If it's right what you hear that he's determined to give back something to the club, I'm looking forward to that because I think in there is a cracking footballer. But Joe Linton's settled himself. Bruno, I think they'll get through this period and commit. And what I'm looking forward to is the two strong first team players that are brought in. And I'm not talking about the Traffords and the Kellys, but I'm talking about the two people we don't know about yet. There'll be two big players come to Newcastle. When they land, and then you see Bruno come out, he's done everything he can really to say that he loves it here. Isak's gone way beyond. Isak said, "Why do I want to leave?" I was with Isak's cousin 2 weeks ago in Pretaris, and he's probably the world's best Michael Jackson tribute act. He sings better than Michael Jackson. He dances unbelievably. Never seen it turn like it in my life. And I was stood, videoing him, and I'm like on this. And he come over to us and said, "Do you support Newcastle?" He's Swedish lad. I said, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, my cousin plays for them." And I thought he was going to name some kid I'd never heard of. And I says, "Who's that?" He says, "Alexander Isak," when he fell over. He spotted me like being a pain in the ass all the time with his black and white phone cover. And he messaged me and he said he said he didn't get the answer. 2 days later I saw him. He says, "Oh, here's the message," and Isak had said to him, he loves it, just loves it, Newcastle, loves the place, loves everything about it. And he talked to I saw the WhatsApp and I read it, and I just thought he's going nowhere. But he's gone beyond that, because what Isak's done is he's turned around and said, why would I need to leave? I've got everything here. He's playing the best football of his life. But what happens when players sign for a lot of money. How many players over the years sign and then don't quite do it and don't quite get the goals? I mean, and if you want to look at players like that, just look at 10 players at Chelsea, look at 10 players at Man United that haven't quite hit it off. It's just things are not quite happening and they don't quite get the space, and they look and you just sit there and say, shit, there's a lot of players, good players, man. Because Caicedo was a good player at Brighton. He doesn't look the same player at Chelsea. And I think there's big risk in that. So that's why I see Bruno doing what Bruno can do. And he's got to have the captain's armband next season, for me. And, with him in there, and Joe Linton signed, and Tyne comes in, and it'll be fascinating to watch a proper team of coaches, unlike Southgate, but a proper team of competent coaches decide how they're going to work the pieces. Because when you look what they've done with Anthony Gordon, and you look at where that lad's own natural drive has come through on that interview with Gary Neville, you think, shit, we've got some real magic to come in. You go and put two diamonds in with them this year, and then bring the Kellys and the Traffords and all them through. Exciting times ahead. I'm looking forward. I don't think we'll lose anybody.
No, me neither. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody watching as well. We've got 800 watching live tonight across all different platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn and X, as well as YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn or X, then please open another window on your computer, find YouTube, search nufc matters and just hit the subscribe button. It's free and we do 7 shows a week. Yeah, the Bruno story could come to an end on Monday then, Mitch, because that's when that that potentially closes, and it's as we predicted on here, not many takers, not many bidders, because the people just don't have the money.
And I'm going to say something that I've probably thought for a few weeks but not actually vocalized. I think it would be a dereliction of duty of whoever is control of the purse strings at Newcastle United within PIF to not have a solution to any PSR shortfall already in place by now.
Yeah.
I don't think they will accept the fine, because I believe, and I believe that they also believe, that we will not be held accountable to the same level of standards as Forest or Everton in any decision made about points deductions. I think we would have the book thrown at us again as part of this cartel-led.
Yeah.
Yes, the nasty brown man's money from the Middle East. We want to slap them on the wrist as hard as we can so they don't break the rules again, and we told you they were going to do it. So for us not to have a solution in place, if indeed we do need a solution, I think there's a lot of things that we are not privy to. I think there's a lot of things that the press, the amateur accountants on Twitter and other social media platforms are not, as good as they are not privy to. They are guessing. And so I honestly think if we come up with a shortfall and end up going through some sort of thing, somebody within PIF needs to be removed from that post, because they haven't planned this properly and they haven't managed the books properly. If we don't have a solution already in place, whoever's allowed that to happen wants shot with shit and wants to be totally removed from whatever role they're in and replaced by somebody who can plan. So, and that's why I've remained calm about it. I've thought about this for a good 4 to 6 weeks. My comments about Bruno, I've reiterated 2 or 3 times about how many clubs have even spent 50 million or more, let alone 100, on a single player, and how many of them just can't now. I think it was a wonderful poker move. It's sticking the chips in the centre of the table and saying, if you've got the money, let's see the colour of it. And yet the press will still run with, well, Arsenal are interested and they're going to put together a package with a player swap deal. Whoa. How many player swap deals happen realistically? Ever? Any season? Not that many. The only thing that's happening at the minute in terms of player swaps, you've got Villa, Chelsea, Juventus, and one other club in some sort of very bizarre arranged marriage where they're all trying to find ways around PSR by swapping players between them, and this one will pay for that, and that one will pay for this, and this one's going to get a loan of that and that, and it's got more moving parts than the Ankara mechanism, and frankly, good luck to you if you can pull it off. We're not involved with that, and nor should we be. We should be. The plan should already be there and in place. I can't see us accepting a fine, accepting a points deduction, because I genuinely believe we won't be treated the same, and I think we know that as well. I think the people in charge know that. So I do think it's a fascinating situation, because everybody outside of Newcastle wants to dress it up as something that it isn't. And it gives the friendly press to Arsenal a chance to write God knows how many vacuous lines of tripe about player swap deals. And and everybody can seem interested, it comes back to, yeah, I'm interested in going and buying a Ferrari. But if I don't want to pay the money for it, I'm not going to get a bloody Ferrari. So that's how the world works. And I think we've done really well to exploit that. And
Final word.
Let's say the colour your money.
Final word to you, George, before we finish.
Well, I mean, I've said we're out thinking about it a couple of times on here already. If Newcastle United sell Bruno, it would be not just a dereliction of duty, it would be turning the club upside down. We buy a man who's become a talisman for the whole club, not just for the whole club, but for the whole city. To sell him would be absolutely mental. And I, for one, would seriously think where I would want to go back to St. James's Park again if they did. Because if we're going to be big, let's be big. Let's keep the best players. Don't give them away to our rivals. For God's sake, why do we want to give them to Manchester City for any money? If it would just be crazy. But go back to the man. Look at the way he behaves. He's as Geordie can be now. He's not going to be going anywhere. And the other bit is somebody said it. At Manchester City, he's going to become the little fish in a big pond. At Newcastle United, he's a god. He's a god. And he just gets bigger and bigger. And I'm already put my hand in the pocket for a collection for the statue shortly. No, he's not going anywhere. He's ours. And it's clickbait for the Southern press and all the rest of it. And it's just, it's have a go at Newcastle in any way you can. And that's just what we've got to put up with. But not involving Bruno, no. It just not going to happen. Just not going to happen.
Can I say something quick, Steve, before I go? Just thanks to everyone for your kind words. I'm sorry I can't get as much as I'd like. And just a shout out to two friends. I want to send my love and best wishes to John and Tracy Allen tonight. Been thinking about you. See you soon.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Going to finish with a little bit of laughter as always. I regret rubbing ketchup in my eyes, says Elliot, but that's hindsight for you.
Oh, God.
Good one. Thank you very much. Yeah, big shout out to Johnny Allen and Tracy. Thinking of you guys. Thanks to George. Thanks to Mitch. Thanks to Keith. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to all the moderators. Always a great show. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock tomorrow night, me and George look back on 2008, 2009. Wasn't a very good season, but I tell you what, it's a cracking show. Tune into that tomorrow night with George. And then we're back on Sunday at a slightly earlier time of 11 o'clock. In the morning for me and Mitch and Stu for the professionals. But Keith, look forward to seeing you again soon. Ian Mearns has promised to be on the show next Friday, and Hasty should be back as well. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, everyone.
See you, everybody. Thank you for watching.